Working with the Law, inspired by Raymond Hollywell, written and published by Audible Aria. Raymond Hollywell was a prominent author and speaker known for his work in the fields of personal development and metaphysics. Hollywell's teachings focus on the power of thought and the importance of aligning one's actions with these universal laws to create positive change and achieve one's goals. His work continues to inspire those interested in self-improvement and the application of spiritual principles in daily life. The author of The Secret mentioned that we should use our mind wisely instead of letting it control us. You see, a lot of people are letting the outside world dictate their lives. They're not using their mental powers to take control. The author says we need to master our minds and guide them with intention. But if you look around, most people aren't doing that. They're not mastering their minds or using them to shape their lives. As we go through 9 laws, each one will offer you a unique lesson. And as you align your mind with these laws, you'll see your entire life start to transform. The author says we need to learn how to think the right way and focus our minds on the things that truly matter for our well-being. Have you ever wondered why just 1% of the population earns 96% of all the money? It's crazy, right? When you first hear that, it sounds unbelievable. But it's true. The only part of the universe we can change is ourselves. The way you think shapes who you become, and your deepest desires and principles will guide your future. The message here is to learn how to use the power of your mind, or else it will end up using you. Every day, make an effort to apply what you've learned. Keep working on your opinions and aim to see things from a bigger, truer perspective. First, do you know what these laws are? Take a moment and think about it. Did you really understand the law of attraction? A lot of people think the law of attraction was something new, like it just popped into existence. But that's like hearing about the law of gravity and thinking we just discovered it yesterday. The law of attraction has always been around. It's actually connected to another powerful law, the law of vibration. Dr. Werner von Braun said that the natural laws of the universe are so precise that we can send people to the moon and time the landing down to a fraction of a second. Isn't it strange that we go through life without really understanding these laws, even though they impact everything? From your relationships to your health, your business, and your personal abilities, everything is governed by these laws. When we break the law, we end up losing. But when we live in harmony with the law, that's when we start to win. You've probably heard people say, well, I believe that, and you've likely said it yourself. But why do you believe what you do? Have you ever really examined your own beliefs? When you start to dig into why you believe certain things, you might find that some of your long-held beliefs start to crumble. It's important to form a clear and definite understanding of why you think and act the way you do. Most people never really ask themselves, why do I believe this? The truth is, most of our beliefs are inherited. They've been passed down through our genes since the moment we were conceived. We've got a lot of ideas stuck in our minds that go against the natural laws of the universe, and that's where our problems come from. It's no coincidence that only a small, select group of people live truly meaningful lives while so many others struggle. As you get involved in this audiobook, I encourage you to take it seriously. This is life-changing work. It's helped me earn millions, build a global business, and make meaningful connections around the world. If it can do that for me, imagine what it can do for you. There's a big difference between shallow, everyday thoughts, like thinking about last night's game, the weather, or who won the election, and deep, meaningful thoughts that help you understand these laws and the truth. Deep thinking awakens hidden powers, sharpens your perception, and expands your life in every way. Most people's thoughts are focused on trivial matters, but what we're talking about here is deep, focused thinking. We need to dig into our minds and figure out how to make giant leaps forward, not just small steps. Once you really understand this law, everything in your life will begin to change. The simple truth is, everything that comes into our lives is something we've attracted. We're like magnets pulling things toward us. Did you know your brain acts like an electronic switchboard? It controls the energy vibration of your body, which is a huge source of power. But here's the thing. You're not your body and you're not your brain. But you do have a brain, and it's incredible. We can control the vibration we're in. And when we do, we start to control what enters our lives. Mind is the master power that shapes and creates, and we are our mind. With the tool of thought, we shape our desires, bringing forth either countless joys or countless troubles. We think in secret, and those thoughts become our reality. Our surroundings are just a reflection of our inner thoughts. The first law, the law of thinking. Thinking is incredibly powerful. Some say it's the most powerful force we possess. Archibald MacLeish, a Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright, had a character in his play The Secret of Freedom who said, "The only thing about a man that is truly human is his mind. Everything else can be found in a pig or a horse." It might sound like a joke, but it's true. Our mind is the most powerful thing we have, and thinking is a powerful form of energy. Thoughts are like cosmic waves that travel through time and space. Raymond Hollywell said, "To the average person, life seems like a deep mystery, a complex and unsolvable puzzle. But it's actually very simple if you have the key. Mystery is just another word for ignorance. Everything seems mysterious when we don't understand it, but once we understand life, it no longer feels like a mystery." We're progressive beings, you and I. We are creatures of constant growth, with an endless ocean of progress ahead of us which we can navigate and conquer only by developing and nurturing our natural abilities. The progress of each person is mostly determined by... What do you think it is? Let me say it again. The progress of the individual is largely determined by... It's a good question, right? The answer is by our ruling mental state, because our mind is the key factor that governs everything in our life. My life and your life. We need to pay attention to our dominant mental state because it guides all of our energy, abilities, and powers. This in turn shapes our experiences and ultimately determines our personal fate. Think of the ruling state as the CPU of your mind. Just like a computer's CPU controls everything, the ruling state of your mind controls everything in your life. This ruling state is made up of the different mental attitudes you choose to have towards things, events, and life in general. If our attitudes are optimistic and aligned with reality, then our dominant mental state will naturally be positive and forward-moving. Since most of our personality's energy flows through our conscious mind and our daily actions are largely guided by it, it's clear that our main mental state determines the direction in which our life moves. The ruling mental state is everything. Many of us have been taught to believe that we need to change what's happening outside of us. Fix this, fix that. We've been conditioned to rely on our senses, to trust what we hear, see, smell, taste, or touch. But very little attention has been given to our higher faculties: perception, willpower, intuition, memory, reason, and imagination. These are our inner tools. And this is where the real power lies. It all starts within. You don't need to worry about changing things out there. Whether it's your bank account or your health, you'll notice that everything begins to change when you start harnessing the power of thought. Your X-rays will show a healthier you, your bank account will look different, and your whole life will shift as you take control of your thoughts. Thought is an incredibly powerful force. Raymond Hollywell put it well when he said, "Thought is a subtle element. Even though it's invisible to our physical eyes, it's just as real as electricity, light, heat, water, or even stone. We live in a vast ocean of thought, where our thoughts travel like currents of electricity, streaks of light, or musical waves. You can send your thoughts around the world in less than a second, faster than anything else." Now think about what he's saying. You can send your thoughts around the world several times in less than a second. Scientists tell us that thought moves as fast as light, traveling at a rate of 186,000 miles per second. That's hard to even imagine. They also say that our thoughts travel 930,000 times faster than the sound of our voice. There's no other force or power in the universe that's as fast or powerful as thought. It's a scientifically proven fact that the mind is like a battery, the most powerful force of all. Think of your mind like a computer processor. When it's running smoothly, it operates at incredible speed. The thoughts you think eventually create the results you see in your life. There are laws that govern thought. Let me tell you something I've learned for sure. The thoughts you dwell on and pass on to your emotional mind instantly control the vibratory rate of your body. Your body is a huge magnet of energy, it really is. If you placed your body in front of an infrared camera in a completely dark room, you'd see it as a glowing, radiant form. In fact, you could even hear it like a symphony playing. To the naked eye, your body might just seem like a physical thing, but it's not just a thing. Your body is one of the most incredible instruments on the planet, and you're living in it. The way you think directly influences what your body does. We know that our actions create our results. So if you want to change your results, you have to change your actions. But here's the catch. If you don't change your thoughts, the root of your actions, then any changes you make will only be temporary. The thoughts you keep thinking will eventually settle in your subconscious mind, and those thoughts will determine the course of your life. Make no mistake about it. We hear a lot about positive and negative attitudes, or positive and negative thinking. Some folks believe that these are two separate forces, one that brings good things and the other that brings bad things. You've probably heard it before. We attract the good and need to get rid of the bad, but that's not really how it works. Take cold and heat, for example. If you're cold, you don't try to balance cold and heat to warm up. No, you build a fire, gather around it, and enjoy the warmth it provides. As the warmth grows, the cold just fades away because cold is simply the absence of heat, just like darkness is the absence of light. When you let in the light, the darkness disappears. So, to get warm, we focus on things that create warmth. We don't waste time thinking about the cold. We focus on the heat, and the warmth naturally follows. In the same way, prosperity and poverty aren't two separate things. They're just two sides of the same coin. There's only one power, and how we use it determines the outcome. You can't think about abundance and then worry about the bad stuff at the same time. If you're looking to change the results in your life, and I'm guessing you are, or you wouldn't be listening to this right now, then you've got to pay attention to your mind. Think seriously. Remember what Huxley said. The only corner of the universe that we can be certain of improving is our own self. That's it. All those things we want to change on the outside are really just reflections of what's going on inside us. That might sound like a big idea right now, but if you study this for a week, a month, or a year, and then hear me say it again, it'll make even more sense. You choose your thoughts, and your thoughts create your life. You really do become what you think about. There's a law of thinking. Don't doubt it. Imagine waking up one morning and discovering that someone had deposited $9 million into your bank account. How would that change your life? How would you feel? Now, imagine that next week just like that. 1,000 new clients joined your business. 1,000. How would that impact your business and your life? Or what if you suddenly realized you had the energy and vitality of a 20-year-old? How would that affect the way you think and live? And what if Mensa recognized you as the smartest person on the planet? These are some powerful questions, don't you think? Now let me tell you something important. There's a lot more than just $9 million out there waiting for you. There's an infinite supply of abundance ready to flow into your life. And those 1,000 clients, there are tens of thousands of people out there who need someone like you to serve them. And that youthful energy, all the energy that ever existed and ever will exist, is present everywhere all the time. No one gets energy. We all release it. Desire is the key that unlocks that energy within us. As for being the smartest person in the room, remember this. Being the smartest isn't always what matters most. What truly counts is being effective. You see, all the knowledge that ever existed and ever will exist is also present everywhere, at all times. It's how you use that knowledge that makes the difference. Law 2, the law of supply. Holliwell once said that man is never fully satisfied. This fact troubles some people, but it's important to understand that God did not design us to be satisfied forever. In fact, dissatisfaction is a creative state. That's right. Many people confuse satisfaction with happiness, but they're not the same. You can be very happy and still be dissatisfied. Dissatisfaction is what drives creativity and innovation. It was dissatisfaction that led to the invention of the incandescent light bulb. Edison was simply fed up with wax candles and kerosene lamps. Dissatisfaction pushed the Wright brothers to introduce us to the world of flight. It was dissatisfaction that drove Edmund Hillary to conquer Mount Everest. And it was dissatisfaction that inspired John F. Kennedy to declare that we would land on the moon before the end of the 1960s. Dissatisfaction is not something to be avoided. It's a powerful force for growth and change. Embrace it, and let it propel you toward your goals and dreams. I hope you're feeling a bit of dissatisfaction, and if you're not, I'll quietly wish that you find it soon. Here's why. We believe it's right and natural for people to pursue and fulfill their pure desires and ambitions. Now, I know not everyone agrees with this idea, but there are always people who don't agree with a lot of things. What's important is that the small, select group of people who truly understand these laws know that there's an infinite source of supply. Everything we have, everything that exists, comes from one infinite source. We're all made from the same essence. The challenge for many people is that they find it easier to look to the things around them, the creatures, as the source of what they need, rather than looking to the Creator. This idea is often just beyond what most people can grasp. We don't really believe deep down that God is the true source of our substance. But when we start to truly believe it, that's when things begin to change. Dr. Wernher von Braun, one of the greatest scientists who ever lived and often called the father of the space program, made an interesting observation. Now, before I share what he said, it's worth noting that for a long time, science and religion were like oil and water. They just didn't mix. But over time, they've started to come together. Von Braun, after years of studying the spectacular mysteries of the cosmos, was led to a firm belief in the existence of God. Now, I'm not trying to turn this into a religious talk. I'm just sharing my personal belief. After studying these laws for almost 50 years, I've come to see the law as the consistent and orderly method of an all-powerful God. A law is something that works every time, for every person, no matter where they are. And anyone who's achieved anything meaningful will tell you this. When we look back at history, it's easy to admire the great minds that have passed. Everyone loves a dead genius, right? But here's the thing. These people were recognized as geniuses even while they were alive. The Wright brothers, for instance, were seen as real radicals, even heretics. The people who made big things happen weren't ordinary thinkers. They thought outside the box. What set them apart was their understanding of this governing process we call the law. Before we can truly believe in the abundance of good around us, we first need to see it, enjoy it, and understand that everything we experience comes from one infinite source of supply. When this understanding really sinks in, it changes everything. We start to see the world differently, and that shift in perspective sets us on a new path. Now think about this. Nothing can be created out of something any more than something can be created out of nothing. But where does water actually come from? Let's take a moment to consider that. Imagine standing outside on a clear, sunny day, holding an empty cup in your hand. If you stood there long enough and remained patient, eventually that cup would fill with water. How? At first, there might be nothing, just clear skies, but then, slowly, you'd start to see clouds form, gathering moisture from the air. Those clouds would grow heavy and dark, and before long, rain would fall, filling your cup. And what happens to that water once it's in the cup? Eventually, it would evaporate and return to where it came from, completing the cycle. This is a great example of the idea, as above, so below, as below, so above. It means that everything in the universe is connected and operates under the same basic principles. Nothing is ever truly created or destroyed. It's all part of an ongoing process of change. We live in what you could call an ocean of motion. Everything is constantly moving and evolving. What's truly remarkable is that we, as human beings, have the unique ability to create images and ideas in our minds. And when we do, we influence the vibrations we're in. These vibrations then attract similar energies, bringing our thoughts into reality. In his seminars, Bob Proctor often shows people a small acorn, which comes from a giant oak tree. This little acorn is essentially a mass of energy vibrating at a high speed. Though it appears to be a small physical object, if you keep that acorn in your pocket, it will eventually disintegrate. Why? Because it is governed by a fundamental principle: create or disintegrate. In your pocket, the acorn would not be in the right environment to grow. But if I were to plant that acorn in the earth, something amazing would happen. There are particles in the soil that are in harmony with that little acorn's energy. If you looked at the acorn under a microscope, you'd see that it's not solid. It's a mass of energy in constant motion, almost like it's dancing. This is just one example of the incredible laws that govern our world and our lives. Imagine I take 2 drops of water and place them on a glass table. If I gently push them together until they touch, what happens? They merge into one larger drop. Now suppose I add a 3rd drop and push it toward the first 2. Once they combine, do you think it's possible to separate that bigger drop back into the exact 3 original drops? Of course not. They've become one, and there's no way to reverse that process. This idea of things coming together takes on new meaning, doesn't it? Now think about an acorn planted in the earth. There are particles of energy in the soil that don't vibrate in harmony with the acorn, but there are also particles that do. The acorn acts like a magnet, attracting only the particles that resonate with its energy. If you could see it happening, it would look like tiny particles of energy marching toward the acorn, just like obedient soldiers. And when these particles touch the acorn, they become one with it, just like the drops of water. This process is continuous. The acorn can only attract particles of energy that are in harmony with it. They're on the same frequency. As the acorn keeps attracting more of these harmonious particles, it starts to grow. First, shoots come out from the bottom. Then it breaks through the earth, drawing nutrients from the atmosphere and oils from the soil. Eventually, that little acorn becomes a giant oak tree, all through the power of attraction. It's all about energy in motion. There's only one source of supply, and everything comes from it. Right now, you're attracting things into your life from this infinite source. But here's the thing. If your thoughts are focused on lack and limitation, that's exactly what you'll attract. The universe operates by law. It can only give you what you're asking for, whether you realize it or not. So what are you asking for? What are you attracting into your life? The way you think determines what you attract. So take a moment to reflect. What have you been ordering from the universe? What kind of thoughts are you holding on to? Remember, everything comes from one infinite source. You might say, I don't fully understand that. But trust me, I do. And if you take the time to study it, you'll begin to understand it too. As Solomon wisely said, in all you're getting, get understanding. So let's take a moment to truly understand where everything in life comes from. The truth is, there's no lack and no limitation. If you rely only on what your senses show you, what you can see, hear, touch, and so on, then you'll likely encounter lack and limitation because your view is restricted to the surface level. But when you start seeing things from a higher perspective, what I like to call the God's eye view, you realize there's abundance everywhere. There's no lack, no limitation. And here's something crucial to understand. What you think about, you attract. And you attract it from one infinite source of supply. Law 3, the law of receiving. There's a powerful line from this teaching. He who seeks a greater life with getting as his objective does not seek life in fullness of spirit. In other words, if you're focused only on getting, you're going to run into problems. Here's another important point. When we don't fully understand, we tend to think that we must get before we can give. Then, We try to switch things up by thinking that we must give before we can get. But if our main focus is still on getting, we miss the true spirit of giving. Giving is actually the first fundamental law of life. It's the first law of all creation. The mindset of getting is like living life in a congested state. Let me repeat that. The mindset of giving is the law of life, while the mindset of getting is life in a repressed state. As long as our thoughts are dominated by getting, our minds remain in a paralyzed condition, limited in action according to the fundamental law of creation. You must willingly give and graciously receive. The entire universe works on a law of circulation. To keep things moving, you have to keep the energy flowing. We're just channels through which this energy passes. Over the years, I've realized that you and I are here to do God's work. God is the creator, and we are his creation. As such, we've been given creative abilities, and when we use these abilities properly, everything begins to fall into place for us. It's all about understanding the laws of life, and one of those laws is receiving. But here's the catch. Before you can receive, you have to make room for it. This law says you have to create space for the good things you want in life. To do that, you must let go of something first. You see, when you think about something, whether it's positive or negative, you send out a charge of energy. Your brain then absorbs an equal amount of energy of the same type. If you focus on negative thoughts, your brain will attract negative energy. But if you focus on positive thoughts, you'll attract positive energy. It sounds simple, but it's often misunderstood. To really make this work, you need to be in a relaxed state of mind and operate with understanding. Listening to an audiobook like this might not bring about instant change, but if you keep watching it over and over, eventually something will click inside you. I've found that through repetition, our perception of life changes significantly. Perception is one of our intellectual abilities, and it allows us to see life from different perspectives. As we grow in awareness, our perception shifts, and we begin to see life differently. We need to understand that everything we're searching for is also searching for us. We must be open to receiving the good we desire in life. The only way to receive good is by giving good. When we give, we immediately receive because the act of giving flows through us. If I make someone feel good about themselves, I'll feel good too because I've channeled that positive energy through myself to reach them. Giving and receiving are connected. They're two sides of the same coin, and you can't separate them. You know, people often say, how can I give if I don't have anything? But the truth is, you do have something to give. You've got your time, your energy, your loyalty, your knowledge, and your money. The more you give, the more you will receive in return. When we open ourselves to receiving, we enter a relaxed state. As Raymond Hollowell pointed out, when we relax from strain, the law has a chance to reply to our desires, and things begin to change for us. You've probably experienced this in small ways, like wishing for a book, an invitation, or a chance to see a friend. You might have sent out that thought or desire, forgotten about it, and then suddenly the book appeared, the invitation arrived, or you ran into that friend. It happens all the time. But if we're too focused, straining, and trying too hard, we're tense, and that's when things don't happen. But you've got to understand it's not just about what you give, but the thought behind it that really counts. There's a story Billy Graham once told that illustrates this perfectly. Back when he was just starting out and money was tight, $100 could have covered rent and groceries for a month. The collection plate came around, and he put in a $100 bill. Later, he realized what he had done and told his wife, "Oh no, I thought I put in $20, but I accidentally gave $100. She replied, "Well, that's too bad because you'll only get the blessings back for the $20 you thought you were giving." That story gets right to the heart of it. You might say, "But he gave $100, but it's really about the intention. He was only thinking of giving $20. It's the thought that matters most, because our thinking controls everything. Giving and receiving are deeply connected. They're two sides of the same coin. You've got to be open to receiving, but that openness comes naturally when you truly understand the concept of giving. This is a fundamental law of the universe. Energy is always moving. You have to realize that your life is full right now. It might not be full of what you want, but it's full. Your schedule is packed. All your time is accounted for. Some might say, but I have so much wasted time. That's just how you're choosing to use it. We need to replace that wasted time with productivity. Everything in your life, whether you want it or not, is part of what fills it up. What you have in your life reflects what you've been giving. If you want more good in your life, you've got to give more good. The more good we put out, the more we'll receive in return. We don't need to stress about what we're going to receive. The receiving is governed by a universal law, and that law is rooted in giving. As you give, so shall you receive. Think of it like this. If you're sitting in a chair, you can't put anything else in that space until you move the chair. This is where the vacuum law of prosperity comes into play. Nature abhors a vacuum. When you give, and give abundantly, without holding back, you'll create space in your life for even more blessings to flow in. I can guarantee that you'll never have to worry about what you'll receive when you give from a place of abundance. We need to give willingly and receive graciously. Willingly giving shows a lot of faith, but it's not just blind faith. It's faith grounded in an understanding of universal laws. Start thinking about who you can give to, what you can give, and where you can give. Then go out and give your best wherever you are. When you do that, you'll receive the best the universe has to offer. It's just sitting there, waiting for you. Law 4, the law of increase. I'm willing to bet that you want more of everything in your life. More love, better health, more energy, more money, and more success in your business. That's totally natural, and you should want it. But here's the important part. You have to understand that you can have it. The beautiful truth is that there's an infinite supply available to us. Thomas Troward said it perfectly. When you're dealing with infinity, you can never take more than your share. Think about it this way. If we were sharing a pie and we cut it into 6 pieces, wanting a bigger slice would mean someone else gets a smaller one. But life isn't like that pie. We're dealing with creation itself, and we can make the pie bigger so everyone gets a bigger slice. The idea of increase is based on universal laws. If you want to increase anything in your life, you have to lift it up. You might wonder, how do I do that? Well, in The Science of Getting Rich, there's a chapter on gratitude, and the more grateful you are, the more you'll receive. But you have to genuinely feel that gratitude. Praising and gratitude go hand in hand. We should praise our source of supply, praise the Spirit, and praise abundance. And by doing so, we invite more of it into our lives. Let me share something directly from the book. Listen closely. Have you ever had someone criticize or condemn your efforts when you were doing your very best, trying to please them? I'm sure you have. I know I have. When that happens, don't you feel like just giving up, like quitting the job and letting someone else deal with it? Experiences like that can suppress your enthusiasm and make you lose interest. Hollywell points out that this is what happens when the law is reversed. But when someone praises your efforts, you feel energized, motivated to do better, and eager to strive for perfection. Praise increases your interest, and within that joy, you bring more happiness into your work and to those around you. It's a well-known fact that plants respond to praise. I've even seen flowers bloom longer and more beautifully when they're praised. We often say someone with a beautiful garden has a green thumb, but really it's that they love their garden. They send it loving energy. When you send that same loving energy to your source of supply, you'll find that increase just happens naturally. You'll start receiving more. I've read about this countless times, and I've experienced it myself, so I know it's true. People who are very successful often have a hard time telling the difference between work and pleasure because they find so much joy in what they do. That's because they genuinely love what they're doing and are always grateful for the opportunity to do it. They make a habit of praising their work and the people around them, and the more you praise what you're doing or the people you're working with, the more success you'll see. It's been shown that even a struggling business can turn around with the power of praise. Lost friendships can be restored when the law of praise is applied. Think about it. When you put good energy into something, good energy comes back to you. When you praise your friends and acknowledge what they're doing well, they'll think more positively about you and will look for ways to support you. It's not rocket science. Praise changes how we see things and our entire outlook on life. In the past, we might have been in the habit of focusing on our weaknesses and the flaws of others, but praise changes our perception. If you're going to praise someone, you first have to look for something good they're doing. And in doing that, you're tapping into one of your higher faculties, your perception. You're actively looking for the good, and when you find it, you naturally want to acknowledge it and let them know that you see it. This idea doesn't just work with people, it works with plants, animals, and all living things. We need to understand that intelligence is everywhere, in everything. There's intelligence even in a garden rock, though the rock doesn't have conscious awareness of it. Intelligence is present everywhere all the time. It's a power that operates according to very specific laws. So if praise works with people, it naturally works with plants, animals, and everything in life. But to praise anything, you first have to see the good in it. You've got to look for the good and then acknowledge it. If you're focused on the bad, you won't praise it. You'll criticize, condemn, and end up feeling negative. But when you use your perception to find the good in life, it becomes easy to praise it and feel grateful for it. Praise is a powerful concept, and it's actually the foundation of the law of increase. If you want more of anything in your life, start by praising it. Be thankful for what you already have, and you'll see even more good coming your way. Remember what we discussed about receiving. You need to be open and relaxed to receive more. If you want to experience increase, you've got to praise what you have. I know you're enjoying this series because I'm enjoying sharing it with you. I encourage you to do the same. I'm praising you for using these ideas, and I want you to keep the energy flowing. Who will you share it with? You know it works. If you want to increase what you have, praise it and share it. Willingly give and graciously receive. You know, it's written in the Bible, "Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap." Emerson called this the law of all laws and said that if it didn't exist, we'd have to invent it. And Law 5, the law of compensation. The law of compensation is something we need to understand if we want to apply it effectively. When we do apply it, we'll find that the universe is on our side. This law is based on 3 key factors. The amount of money or good you receive is directly related to the need for what you do, your ability to do it, and how hard it is to replace you. Take a moment to think about that. Your income or the good things you receive in life will depend on just these 3 points: the need for what you do, how well you do it, and how difficult it would be to replace you. We live in a fast-changing world, one that's not getting bigger, but smaller. We're in a global market now, just a click away from anywhere on the planet. We can see what's happening on the other side of the world on a device as small as a watch. With the push of a button, we can send a message to 1 million people instantly, no matter where they are. The world has changed dramatically, and it's looking for effective people, people who can serve others well. So ask yourself, is there a need for what you do? I'd say there probably is, and you didn't have to do anything to create that need. It already exists. The second part is your ability to meet that need. How good are you at what you do? This is crucial. Most people only do enough to get by. It's been said that most folks work just hard enough to avoid getting fired, and companies pay them just enough to keep them from quitting. That approach doesn't work. It violates the law of compensation. If you master the second step, becoming really good at what you do, you'll naturally take care of the third step, making yourself difficult to replace. When you reach that level of skill and effectiveness, that's when your value truly increases. You'll find that when you do your job to the best of your ability, people will be lining up to hire you, pay you, and have you work for them. When you put your all into your work and do it well, you naturally bring out the best in yourself. If you understand that you have limitless potential, you'll see that no one really knows what you're capable of. Even the most brilliant scientists can't fully grasp it. Science has studied this in many ways. You've got about 11 million kilowatt hours of potential energy packed into each pound of your body's atoms. Your brain is an incredible electronic switching station, more complex than anything we can imagine. Your central nervous system is the most remarkable electrical system in the entire universe. Compared to it, a supercomputer is like a toy. Did you know your blood circulates through hundreds of miles of vessels every 33 seconds? Just like that, it delivers all the nutrients you need and removes waste in one continuous sweep. Have you ever really thought about the power you possess? You have amazing mental abilities that you can use to tap into an endless source of possibilities. When we talk about you, we're talking about something truly incredible, the highest form of creation on earth. That's who you and I are. But are we using these abilities? For many years, I didn't. My focus was just on getting by. Then I started studying this material, and it began to make sense. I decided, I'm going to change. I'm going to change how I live. I started with Napoleon Hill's work, then moved on to Earl Nightingale. I studied their ideas and learned about the law of compensation. I read Emerson's essay on compensation and studied Raymond Hollywell's material. They all teach the same thing. It's up to you. It's up to you. The universe will give you whatever you ask for, but you must provide service in return. You get back what you put out. If you give a lot, you receive a lot. Many of us are raised with the wrong idea that we go to work to earn money. But working is actually the worst way to earn money. The key is to provide service. You can earn so much money while you sleep that you can do whatever you want when you're awake. This might sound strange to most people because they don't understand the law of compensation. We are taught that we go to work to earn money, but really we should work to find satisfaction and do what we love. Compensation comes to us by law, based on 3 factors: the need for what you do, your ability to do it, and how hard it is to replace you. You might think, if I do more, I won't necessarily get more. You may not get it from your current job, but it will come from somewhere else. You might say, but the company decides how much I earn. No, they don't. Your pay doesn't come from the company. It comes through the company from an infinite source of supply. We have many misconceptions about this. If you grow beyond your current position, you must move ahead. This is a universal law. When something outgrows its space, it moves to a bigger one. If your current company won't pay you more, other companies will be eager to have you. Ask yourself, how good am I at what I do? Can I get better? How can I improve? You have the potential and more power than you'll ever fully use. Are you using it? Who does your job better than you? Study those people. Learn from their lives. Read the books they read. The more you study this material, the better you'll get at what you do. Remember, the law of compensation is based on 3 points: the need for what you do, your ability to do it, and how hard it is to replace you. As you study these laws, these 3 points will keep appearing. The law of compensation depends on your efforts. Aim to get better at your job every day and your life will improve. Law 6. The law of non-resistance. The law of non-resistance is often misunderstood and violated, causing many problems. A balanced person understands how to live in harmony and not let resistance bother them. When you try something new, you'll face resistance. If you don't, you're probably not moving forward. Resistance signals that you're entering new territory. But whatever you resist persists. Instead of resisting resistance, learn to respond to it calmly. Our natural reaction is to fight or flee, but we should master this instinct and choose to respond thoughtfully. There's a beautiful concept called the law of psychological reciprocity. This law says that when you put good out into the world, you'll get good back. Though usually not immediately. But when you put out even better, you get it back right away. Let's think about this using martial arts as an example. Karate is a hard style. You hit me, I hit you back. You kick me, I kick you back. and we just end up hurting each other. This is resisting resistance, which is not how we want to handle things. When someone yells at us, we should let them yell and get all the negativity out, but we shouldn't yell back. Now take judo. In judo, you use the other person's strength against them without doing much yourself. It's said that Sir Winston Churchill was great at psychological judo. Once, Bessie Braddock, a member of Parliament from Liverpool, told him, "Sir Winston, you're drunk and disgusting." He replied, "Yes, madam, I am, but in your regiment you're ugly. But tomorrow morning I'll be sober. What are you going to be?" This way he won the battle but kept the peace, showing a clever way to handle confrontation. There's a better way, the non-resistant approach, like Aikido. In Aikido, when someone strikes at you, you duck and let the blow pass. You don't fight back, you stay calm and fresh. When the other person exhausts their negative energy, you're still composed and can guide them. This is non-resistance. The law of non-resistance says that whatever you resist persists. So the next time you face resistance, don't fight back. Just let it go. If you master this law, you'll have a smooth journey to success. Whenever we try something new, we encounter resistance. I've been working on a new project for a year and have faced a lot of resistance, but I let it go because I know it means I'm on the right track. If you're just going sideways, there's no resistance because you're not doing anything new. Among the 11 laws you're learning, the law of non-resistance is one of the most important. Burn it into your mind. Don't react, respond. Reacting is a habit. Responding requires thinking. When you react, whatever caused you to react wins, and you lose. When you respond, you win. The law of non-resistance is great to understand. Use it, and you'll win. Law 7. The law of forgiveness. Scientists agree that the human body is controlled by the mind, governed by a dominant thought, whether conscious or unconscious. Those who study the mind know that all conditions of the body are created and caused by the mind. Creation in every form is governed by and subject to a law. When one misuses or violates a law, it is called a sin. A sin is a mistake, a misunderstanding, or a misjudgment. A mistake is falling short of or disobeying a law, whether mechanical or spiritual. Correction is the only way to fix a mistake and align with the law. Repentance and forgiveness are the means to correct a mistake. For a long time I didn't really understand this concept. Sin is truly a breaking of the law. When I was little, I was sent to Sunday school like many kids in my area. If I didn't go, my older sister would tell on me, and I would get punished. I was also taught that saying certain words or doing certain things was a sin and that the price of sin was death. This seemed very harsh to me, but that's what I learned at a young age. Being a curious kid, I decided to test it. I said a bad word and didn't die. I did something I was told not to do and didn't die. In fact, nothing bad happened, so I thought those warnings weren't true. Later in life, as I started to learn about how the universe works and its laws, I realized that the concept was true, but my understanding was off. It was probably a misunderstanding of what those people were teaching me, or maybe they weren't explaining it well. There's a basic law of life: create or disintegrate. We're either moving forward or going backward. Disintegrate doesn't mean we just disappear. When we talk about living or dying, it doesn't mean our heart stops and we're gone. It means we're either improving or getting worse. If we break the law, the price of sin is death, meaning things go backward and get worse. If we live in harmony with the law, we move forward and things get better. So sin is a breaking of the law. The price of sin is going backward. Live in harmony with the law and you'll move ahead. Forgiveness is an amazing concept. I never used to think much about it. I thought, forgive? What does it mean? It means to let go of completely, abandon. You can't change what you did, so forgive yourself. Many people walk around feeling very guilty. Guilt and resentment are two of the most destructive emotions. We can't change what we did yesterday. If you did something wrong on purpose, let it go and forgive yourself. If it was an accident, forgive yourself anyway and let it go. If someone else wronged you, don't hold resentment. Let it go. This doesn't mean you should let them hurt you again. You might need to move away from them, but you can't hold bad thoughts in your mind and move in a good direction. Listen to something Holliwell pointed out. He mentioned a well-known doctor who spoke to other medical professionals about how thoughts can cause diseases. The doctor said, "Abnormal tumors and cancers are due to long periods of suppressed grief and anxiety." In other words, such diseases come from a lot of negative thoughts being held in and not dealt with. If these thoughts are so harmful, it would be smart for us to look into ourselves and see how our emotions affect our bodies. Then we should do everything we can to overcome and get rid of any emotions that are harmful and disturbing. This is excellent advice. If you look back, you'll see that a lot of our problems come from wrong thinking. Understand this. Everything works from a higher to a lower potential. When dealing with electricity, we work from a higher to a lower potential. We don't fully understand what electricity is, but we know the laws that control it. If you want more electricity, use a bigger bulb or a bigger transformer. The only limit on electricity is the limit placed on the form it flows through. The same goes for us. We work from a higher to a lower potential. We go from thought to reality. Spirit always shows itself through its opposite. We move from the non-physical to the physical. You and I can tap into a non-physical world of thoughts, and we can choose any thought we want. General Viktor Frankl was a Viennese psychiatrist who spent the war years in a concentration camp. While he was there, he realized something important. No matter what physical or mental abuse he faced, no one could make him think something he didn't want to think. That's where attitude starts. Attitude is made up of our thoughts, which affect our feelings, which then show in our actions. When our thoughts, feelings, and actions are in sync, we have a good attitude. Having the right attitude leads to a healthier body, more wealth, and better friendships. But a key part of having the right attitude is forgiveness, both of yourself and others. Guilt and resentment are two of the most destructive emotions. Of all the laws you'll study, forgiveness might be the most freeing. Forgiveness means to let go completely, to abandon those bad feelings. When negative thoughts come back, let them go again. Make it a habit not to hold on to anything that makes you feel bad. Start to love and respect yourself. Have a healthy respect for what you can do. Remember, carrying bad thoughts about anyone or anything helps no one. It's destructive, and the cost of these negative emotions can be severe. It might not mean literal death, but it can kill your business, your income, or your friendships. Forgiveness helps everything grow. It makes you healthier, helps your income grow, improves your friendships, and strengthens your business. Forgive. Forgiveness is a beautiful law. It means to let go completely. Replace bad thoughts with ones of beauty, abundance, and plenty. You'll be glad you did. I did it, and now I'm a happy and healthy person. Energy flows freely through me because I forgave myself and everyone else who had a negative place in my mind. You should do the same. The law of forgiveness might be one of the greatest laws you study. Law 8, the law of sacrifice. The way I was raised, and probably the way you were raised, we were taught that sacrifice meant giving up something valuable and feeling like we lost something important. Some people made big sacrifices and were considered special, but most people didn't make those great sacrifices. Sacrifice is a law that brings good into your life if you understand it. Most people don't. Sacrifice means giving up something of lower value to get something of higher value. You create space by moving something out to make room for what you desire. Sacrifice means letting go of something of lesser value to receive something of greater value. You have to give up the lower thing before you can get the higher thing. This concept is based on a good understanding of faith. Faith built on understanding. This isn't easy. It requires effort and belief. Imagine you've gone to a great concert and are amazed by the performance. Or you see a fantastic stage play, an award-winning movie, or watch great athletes like Tiger Woods, a top soccer player, or an Olympic swimmer. You might wonder, how do they do that? It doesn't just happen by chance. As one author said, these people might be exceptionally gifted, but their amazing results come from discipline. This discipline is consciously chosen, ardently desired, and patiently persisted in. Let me repeat that. Discipline that is consciously chosen, ardently desired, and patiently persisted in. I've often said that discipline is the ability to give ourselves an order and then follow it. I will master this. I remember once reading an article in an airline magazine where Walter Cronkite was interviewed. He was asked, "How did these astronauts find the courage to get into those space capsules?" He replied, "It didn't take any courage to get into the space capsule." At first I thought, it's easy for him to say that. He's just sitting behind a microphone. He didn't have to get in the capsule. But as I kept reading, I realized he was right. He explained that the real courage was in the sacrifices they made. The studying, the hundreds of hours spent in simulators. That's where courage was needed to prepare them for the mission. It took discipline. How did they go through it alone? It was discipline they consciously chose, strongly desired, and patiently worked on. No one becomes great at anything by accident. We often hear about getting something for nothing, but that's just not true. When we talk about sacrifice, we mean giving up something less valuable to gain something more valuable. For example, giving up an ice cream cone now to save up for a bicycle later. This is based on faith, not blind faith, but faith based on understanding. It's about understanding that we have incredible potential. We can do better. I mentioned it in the law of compensation. We will improve, but only if we give up something valuable now to gain something even more valuable later. Think about the studying and practice it takes to achieve something great. Holliwell said that something always has to be sacrificed to gain something else. This is where the law of compensation comes in, along with the vacuum law of prosperity. You have to make room for the good things you want in your life. Holliwell also said that people everywhere are realizing they need to discipline their thoughts and actions. We carefully train domestic animals and harness nature's forces to serve us, yet when it comes to ourselves, the most valuable of all, we let our thoughts run wild. No one can achieve their goals until they learn to discipline their mind and control their thinking. That's what this whole series of laws is about. It's about working with the law, bringing our minds into harmony with it, and letting go of things of a lower nature so we can receive things of a higher nature. This doesn't happen by accident. The greatest marketers spent years studying their craft. The greatest athletes spent years perfecting their skills. There's no such thing as getting something for nothing. You have to make sacrifices. You have to give up something of lesser value to gain something of greater value. This whole universe operates by law. The law applies to everyone, everywhere, all the time. And we need to understand that sacrifice is a law. We must get in harmony with it and understand it. It's truly invaluable. Listen to this. Holliwell said you can't enjoy the satisfaction and pleasure of true friendship if you keep a bad temper. If you don't sacrifice your temper for the sake of friendship, you'll end up sacrificing your friendships because of your temper. Isn't that powerful? You can't have a good character that friends respect and trust if you engage in dishonest practices. If you don't give up dishonesty to become trustworthy, you'll sacrifice your trustworthiness for dishonesty. You don't have to think too hard to see that this is true. But here's something you need to do. Work on this every day until it becomes a regular part of your life, part of your habits. Most of what we do is controlled by our habits, our paradigms. Paradigms are just a collection of habits. If we want to change our lives, we need to change our paradigm. We have to give up a lower habit to gain a better one. As you study this, you'll see just how important discipline is. Now, I want to leave you with a beautiful idea. You have to discipline yourself. Discipline must be consciously chosen. You have to decide to be disciplined. No one else can do it for you. It comes from within. It's a discipline that you choose, truly desire, and patiently work on. Patient persistence might sound like a contradiction, but it's not. It means staying steadily focused on your goals. You have all the talent and ability inside you. But if you're not willing to sacrifice what you have now, you won't get anything better. Remember this, it's either create or disintegrate. If you're not getting better, things will get worse. You have to discipline yourself and live in harmony with the law of sacrifice. You'll be so glad you did. Working in harmony with the laws is a winning strategy. Law 9, the law of obedience. There's a wonderful poem in the Working with the Law program by Henley called Invictus. It's a poem, listen closely and listen to it as many times as you can. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how strait the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. You can say this with the same confidence Henley had if you live in harmony with these laws, especially the law of obedience. Many people grow up not wanting to be obedient. If you study the lives of some of the greatest leaders, you'll see that they weren't always obedient by society's standards. Many of them even spent time in jail because they didn't always follow the rules. But they were obedient to the laws of nature, which is why they achieved so much. Holly Roth said, "You are a builder, and you have been given all the materials to create the life you want to live. You can build with wisdom or with ignorance, depending on how obedient you are and how well you understand and use divine law in your daily life. Being obedient isn't always easy, but it's always rewarding. I'm not talking about being submissive to someone who doesn't understand how the universe works. Let me repeat what I just shared. You are a builder, and you've been given everything you need to create the life you desire. The tools are there for you to use. You can build wisely or ignorantly based on your obedience to and understanding of divine law and how you apply it in your life. If you don't understand these laws, you'll never be truly obedient to them. Instead, you'll break them at every turn. Why? Because we've been programmed to do so. We've been taught to be driven and to always go after more. But the law says that giving is how you'll receive. We've been taught not to follow the law of sacrifice. We're told to hold on to what we have and try to get more. That goes against the law. Isn't it interesting what was written here? The word obey means to follow rules or orders. Obedience is what controls all movement, whether it's mechanical, physical, or spiritual. A giant machine without its governor, a device that controls speed, would tear itself apart because it wouldn't be following the laws of momentum and gravity. An intellectual person who doesn't follow the laws of learning will become like someone who knows nothing. A student who doesn't follow the instructions of spirit or the law of God will turn good into bad. Our success or failure in life depends entirely on obedience. Business runs on obedience. When each member follows the rules of commerce, they succeed. I don't always follow what society dictates because I think a lot of people are headed in the wrong direction. But as you study the law, you realize you need to bring discipline into your life. It's something you choose consciously, really want, and then work on patiently. We need to bring discipline into our lives and become obedient to these laws. If we don't obey the laws, we'll lose. It's that simple. It's like a machine that doesn't follow the laws of momentum and gravity. It will eventually fall apart. As we go deeper into this, it's becoming clear that this isn't for the faint of heart. This isn't something that just anyone will do, even though it could work for everyone. Not everyone has the discipline needed to follow these principles. Now, think about this for a moment. In nature, there's nothing she can't handle. She has no problem she can't solve, no burden she can't carry, and no task she can't complete. We're talking about nature here. Why is that? It's because all of her actions are guided by the powerful laws of harmony and order. These laws constantly remove anything out of balance, heal diseases, correct wrongs, and provide for every need. If in the winter a young sprout tries to push through the soil before its time, Mother Nature destroys that sprout by freezing it out or wiping it away. But at the same time, the snow and ice that freeze the unruly sprout act as a blanket of warmth and protection for all the other seedlings that are following her laws. When people want to use nature in their work, like farming or gardening, they must know how to follow nature's laws. By obeying these laws, they achieve the best results, and in the end, enjoy the greatest harvest. If you play around with this idea for a bit, you'll see just how true it is. Those who obey nature's laws and serve them obediently will later become masters and reap a full harvest. In my own life, I'm not perfect at this by any means, but I'm getting better, much better than I used to be. And you know where it all begins? It starts with understanding these laws. The more you listen to these teachings, and remember, these audiobooks are just an overview giving you a general idea of what's possible. I have to quote Wernher von Braun again, a brilliant rocket scientist. He said that these laws are so precise that we can build spaceships, send people to the moon, and even time the landing to the exact fraction of a second. Now think about that for a moment. I want you to think about your health. Just consider the state of your body. Now think about your finances, the money you earn, and then think about your friends and social life. Think about your family and every part of your life. Understand this. Every part of your life can improve if you live in harmony with these laws. But did you know that by doing this, some people might call you selfish? I like how Oscar Wilde put it. Selfishness is not living as one wishes to live. Selfishness is asking others to live as one wishes to live. There are a lot of selfish parents and people who want others to live the way they want, but you've got to be true to yourself. If I want to be free, I've got to be me. I have to follow these laws, and the more I do, the more I'll succeed. But this success is based on understanding, and understanding only comes in one way. If you know another way, let me know, because I've been searching for a long time. You have to understand these laws to live in harmony with them, and understanding comes through study. Study these laws. Dive into this program. I guarantee you'll be so glad you did, and then share it with as many people as possible. You're going to love the next part, the law of success. It's a real gem. Holliwell said that God intended for every person to succeed. Isn't that a comforting thought? Every single person, including you and me, is meant to be great. I remember reading a book by Robert Russell years ago where he said, "There's no secret to becoming great. You become great by doing little things in a great way every day." Isn't that powerful? Holliwell is saying that it's God's purpose for us to become great. It's God's will that we not only use but also enjoy every good thing in the universe. The law of God doesn't deny us anything. He even said that man is born to be rich. Man is born to be rich. The powers within us are limitless. Think about that. The powers within us are inexhaustible. This is a law. Holliwell said that every normal person is given a complete set of faculties, and if we properly develop and use them, we will achieve continuous success. Napoleon Hill once said that an educated person isn't just someone with a lot of general or specialized knowledge. He said an educated person is someone who has developed the faculties of their mind to the point where they can acquire anything they want or its equivalent without infringing on the rights of others. Do you know what the faculties of your mind are? If you don't, you should start developing them. We grow up relying on our senses, what we hear, see, smell, taste, and touch. This teaches us to live from the outside in, letting the physical world control our thoughts. But that's not how it should work. God operates from the higher to the lower. Spirit, which is non-physical, manifests through the physical. If you want to live in harmony with the law, you need to work from thought to thing, not the other way around. Now let me tell you what those faculties are. You have perception, which is how you view life. You have willpower, which helps you focus. You have memory. There's no such thing as a bad memory. You have a perfect memory. You have reason, which is your ability to think, and you have imagination. These are incredible mental tools, and you'll need to use them to achieve greater and greater success. This is how you live from the inside out. Hollowell says we are made for progress. Every person has the potential for endless growth. That's an amazing idea. Advancing in all areas of life is the law's main purpose. When you learn to work with this law to achieve that purpose, you'll build yourself into greater and greater success. You might wonder, what's in it for me if I study these laws? Well, that's it. You'll build yourself into more and more success. Napoleon Hill said, "It takes no more energy to work with a big idea than a small one." That's exactly what we're saying here. You'll have more friends, better friends, a healthier body, more enjoyment in your work, and the chance to work all over the world. You'll live the life you want. All of nature's processes are successful. Nature doesn't know failure. She never plans anything but success. She always aims for results in every way. To succeed fully, you and I must copy nature's methods in our principles and laws. By doing this, we'll discover all the secrets of success. I don't know about you, but that really excites me. Just think about it. The tide always goes out and comes back in, night always follows day, and winter follows summer. This is the law. It works perfectly in nature. And we can make it work for us too. In following these principles and laws, we'll uncover all the secrets of success. We have the ability to develop incredible intelligence. This means we can answer all of life's questions, uncover all of nature's secrets, and solve any human problems. Nothing is truly impossible. You might be thinking, the world really needs this. And you're absolutely right. But did you know that it's because we're starting to live in harmony with the law that we have the world we do? Consider this. There are people who have never seen a toilet. Some have never seen an electric stove or a watch. Not so long ago, most of the world lived like this. The electric light, which we now take for granted, is actually a recent invention for much of the population. All these things we now enjoy have only come about in the last century or so. This progress has happened because we're beginning to understand and work with the law. Consider the incredible potential within you. Everyone has higher faculties, remarkable talent, deep insights, and greater power that lie dormant. With the right psychological methods, these extraordinary abilities can be developed and used in real and practical ways. This means you and I can tap into these potentials. Every mind has the ability to achieve greatness. There are no exceptions. It's all about knowing how to unlock that potential. True self-help involves self-discovery, self-knowledge, and proper guidance. By learning how to apply your principles, use your faculties, and harness your inner forces, anyone can advance and reach their highest potential. The mind is incredibly powerful and perfect. Our thoughts can shape our reality because our minds can turn ideas into tangible results. With practice, we become more efficient, and using our abilities will lead to real outcomes. This means that success is possible for anyone who is determined to achieve it. When asked if you want to succeed, the answer is yes, you can. You already have everything you need inside you. What you need is a proper understanding of the principles and laws that lead to success. And then you must apply these principles correctly to achieve your goals. But remember, success has to be earned. There's no free ride. Thank you for listening.